Imagine a time when the future seemed tangible. The 1950s were a decade full of hope, technical dreams, and boundless optimism. There was a strong belief that new inventions would make life simpler, more modern, and better. Every apartment, every kitchen, every living room became a test laboratory for a world to come. But not every idea delivered on its promise. Some of these products were once considered revolutionary, indispensable for everyday life, and then disappeared almost overnight. Today, they seem foreign, outdated, or even absurd, even though they once defined the pulse of their time. In this video, we travel back to an era where progress was often faster than reality, and discover 10 legendary innovations of the 1950s that were grandly announced, conquered Europe, and ultimately failed spectacularly. 1. The black and white television with vacuum tubes. In the 1950s, the black and white television stood like an altar in the living room. Families gathered more closely, the lights were dimmed, and the flickering screen became a window to the world. News, westerns, and entertainment shows appeared in shades of gray, but their impact was colorful enough to fill entire evenings. These devices were heavy, prone to overheating, and full of delicate tubes that failed more often than desired. Repairs were a part of everyday life, as was adjusting the antenna to get a reasonably clear picture. Nevertheless, television fundamentally changed social life and made the living room the new center of the home. When color televisions and more compact technology later emerged, these massive tube devices rapidly lost significance and disappeared from households, leaving behind only their cultural memory. 2. The rotary dial telephone. In the 1950s, the rotary dial telephone was more than just a communication device. It was an integral part of everyday life and a symbol of modern connectivity. The heavy handset felt cool in the hand, and every phone number required patience. You inserted your finger into the opening, turned the dial to the stop, and listened to the rhythmic clicking as it slowly returned to its starting position. Every call was deliberate. Nothing happened by chance or in haste. In many European households, neighbors even shared a line, so-called party lines, making discretion a virtue. Conversations felt more personal, but also more limited. With the advent of push-button phones in the 1960s, the rotary dial telephone suddenly seemed cumbersome and slow. What was once considered a technical masterpiece quickly became a relic of a slower time and gradually disappeared from homes, but remained an iconic symbol of the 1950s in collective memory. Zari Barshati. The General Electric flip clock radios. In the bedrooms of the 1950s, no digital glow announced the new day, but rather the quiet, almost hypnotic click of a flip clock. General Electric's mechanical clocks displayed the time on flipping number cards, clearly readable, high contrast, and easily recognizable even from a distance. Every minute was audible when a small card fell and the next appeared, a sound deeply ingrained in the memory of an entire generation. Many models combined the clock with a radio, so music or news ushered in the morning. Their design was simple, functional, and perfectly matched to the sober style of the post-war years. However, their sensitive mechanisms wore out over time, gears jammed, and repairs were costly. When digital displays and quartz technology became widespread, flip clocks quickly lost their practical value. What remained was primarily their nostalgic fascination, which today makes them coveted collector's items. Or the icebox, the refrigerator before electricity. Before electric refrigerators became commonplace in European households, the icebox was the heart of every kitchen. Behind its heavy door was no motor, but a massive block of real ice that kept food cool for days. Every few days, the ice deliveryman brought fresh blocks, which slowly melted and drew cold air downwards. Milk, butter, and meat stayed fresh as long as the door wasn't opened too often. But every icebox required attention. Meltwater had to be regularly collected and disposed of, and in summer, a hot day was enough to push the system to its limits. When electric refrigerators became affordable in the mid-1950s, iceboxes suddenly seemed old-fashioned and cumbersome. The convenience of a button made ice superfluous, and a once indispensable household appliance almost completely disappeared from everyday life. 5. The telegram, the art of concise urgency. In the 1950s, urgency had its own sound, the telegram. When a messenger appeared at the door with a narrow strip of paper, you immediately knew it was something important. Weddings, births, deaths, or business decisions were conveyed in brief words because every single word cost money. This limitation forced senders to use precise language and gave messages an almost dramatic gravity. Throughout Europe, the telegram was considered the fastest and most reliable form of long-distance communication. However, with the rapid expansion of the telephone network, these paper messages lost their advantage. Conversations became more personal, more direct, and above all, cheaper. Later, fax machines and electronic communication made the telegram completely obsolete. What remained is the memory of a time when every message had weight and speed demanded its price. 6. The manual lawn mower. In the 1950s, lawn care still meant physical labor and a certain tranquility. The manual lawn mower consisted of rotating blades that only moved when you pushed it forward. No motor, no gasoline, no noise, just the steady hum of steel on grass. For many European households, this device was a symbol of order and discipline, as a well-kept lawn demonstrated diligence and pride. Short grass was easily cut, but as soon as the lawn grew a little too high, each pass became a strenuous challenge. With the advent of gasoline-powered lawn mowers in the 1960s, these hand-operated models quickly lost popularity. Speed and convenience prevailed, while the manual lawn mower went from an everyday tool to a nostalgic relic. 7. Flash cameras with disposable flashbulbs. In the 1950s, photography was a small event, especially indoors. Flash cameras with disposable flashbulbs finally promised clear shots in low light. The small light bulb sat visibly on the camera and literally exploded in a bright flash of light, accompanied by a quiet pop and a characteristic smell. Birthdays, weddings, and family celebrations were thus reliably captured for the first time. But every shot had its price, because after each photo, the used bulb had to be replaced. Photographers always carried spares, and a forgotten flash meant lost moments. As electronic flashes became reusable, smaller, and more reliable, these disposable solutions suddenly seemed cumbersome and old-fashioned. The technology disappeared from everyday life, but remained a symbol of a time when every photo had to be carefully planned. 8. The door-to-door milk delivery service. In the 1950s, milk delivery was part of the morning ritual in many parts of Europe. Even before breakfast, the milkman would place fresh glass bottles at the doorstep, often supplemented with cream, butter, or eggs. The gentle clinking of the bottles announced a new day, and the personal contact created a sense of familiarity and community. Empty bottles were simply exchanged for full ones. Neighbors exchanged a few words over the fence, and the supply seemed self-evident. However, with the spread of modern refrigerators and the shift to supermarkets, this service lost its practical usefulness. Plastic packaging and self-service replaced the personal model. The milk delivery service quietly disappeared from the streetscape and remained a nostalgic memory of a slower, more connected time. 9. The percolator coffee maker. In the kitchens of the 1950s, the percolator was the heart of morning gatherings. Standing on the stove, it allowed water to rise through a tube, where it repeatedly flowed through the coffee grounds, producing a characteristic gurgling sound. This sound was as much a part of everyday life for many families as the smell of freshly brewed coffee. The percolator promised economy, as it could prepare large quantities with fewer coffee beans. But the method had its drawbacks. Too long heating quickly led to a bitter taste, and cleaning the tubes and filters required patience. When modern filter machines and later automatic coffee systems emerged, the percolator suddenly seemed inaccurate and impractical. It disappeared from many households, but remained in memory as an acoustic and olfactory symbol of the 1950s. 10. The mechanical cash register. In the 1950s, the mechanical cash register was the centerpiece of every store. With its heavy metal casings, rows of clattering keys, and the loud ringing sound when the cash drawer opened, it conveyed order, control, and trust. Every sale was a visible process, with gears interlocking and numbers appearing behind glass windows. These machines operated entirely without electronics and were considered almost indestructible. However, they required regular maintenance, oil for the mechanics, and a lot of counter space. With the advent of electronic cash registers and digital accounting systems, these devices quickly lost their importance. What was once considered the epitome of modern business technology became a heavy, slow relic. Today they remind us of a time when even simple sales required mechanical precision. The 1950s were a decade full of courage, hope, and technical experiments. Many of these products arose from the honest desire to make life simpler, more comfortable, and more modern. They shaped households, streets, and habits across Europe, and for a short time became indispensable companions in everyday life. But technical progress knows no hesitation. What is considered groundbreaking today can be obsolete tomorrow. New solutions were faster, cheaper, or more convenient, and almost silently displaced these innovations. Nevertheless, these failed products were not errors, but necessary steps on the path to the modern world. They tell of an era when it was still believed that every new idea could change the future, even if it ultimately didn't last. And that is precisely why they fascinate us to this day.